Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemy. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow me all the days of this protracted experience of death. I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent power, source, and force of love and creation forever. What's happening, Benton, here? Winter weather driving in Pennsylvania, I believe. Well, the trailer brakes ain't froze, so we're ready to hit the road. Let's see what the roads look like. Side roads ain't too bad. So should be all clear up here on the interstate. A bit of a headache. As the Royal We diligently performs their duties. Truck driving. It's like about 442 miles to Monday's deliveries. Today is Sunday, so no rush there. Not that there would be anyway. This show on the road. It's like they've reduced the speed limits, perhaps, based on well, in Pennsylvania, we'll close the roads to commercial motor vehicles at the drop of a hat. So I'm just assuming I'm even legal to be driving around out here. Did not bother to check. That looks like a truck. A cab over. Must be a bus. Okay, a couple of buses. Yeah, Christmas is canceled. Can I be heard? Make sure. Yep. Maybe I should have got the, maybe I should have paid for the year of StreamYard at 50% off. It is quite convenient, mostly to create the stream quickly and get to streaming. Goes good with the job versus monkeying around with the YouTube app. So I will be out of the free time soon. Certainly. Oh, well. bear with me while we gather our bearings. Oh man, guess I could have drank a little more water this morning, perhaps. Time is 4:12 Eastern. See, we'll go 55. See how that treats us. Yeah, I listened to Millennial Steam, what I presume to be his latest video. And I don't know that I would have bothered to watch a channel called The Epic Economist. In fact, I'm almost certain I wouldn't, and I'm almost certain none of those videos ever showed up in my feed, but Mr. Steam references that channel regularly, so I've started watching it. Sort of maybe a compendium, if that's the correct term. A companion. TikTok now seemingly functioning, apparently as a way to view the internal monologues of the NPC normie. Giant, and the apparent decline of its stores. And when will people reconcile how much of the shopping experience is now on their phone? And not to blame or cast aspersions at Millennial Steam, but in the olden days, pre-smartphone and even, earlier internet adoption, even when people were shopping online to some extent, most of the shopping was done in the store, or historically Black Friday, Christmas, even as newspapers had declined in popularity. Well, I remember many Christmases of making sure to get the Sunday papers, to get all of the sale papers around the holidays. That's all over with, I'm assuming now. Presumably those are produced. I haven't noticed one. And then at a certain point, I realized I was going to the websites of these various retailers, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, whoever. And, they would still produce the sale paper, would have the same, production, but now it's on a, on a website, whether a PDF or it opens up in the browser. And then at a certain point, everybody's doing everything on an app. And, most of the stores, the big retailers, have delivery, or in the case of Walmart, here's how you know if Walmart's busy or not. It's not, are there people in the store? How many of them carts are running around? The Walmart employees pushing around the carts, shopping for folks. And I think some folks, well, most people are delusional and in denial, and just, head in the sand, being led about. And this is a nation of followers. Make no mistake. That's what America is. That's what the people are. Again, I'm from America. Benton lives in America, so whatever is going on in other countries, that's not what Benton is addressing here. The royal we. And when and where is the acknowledgement of it's all moved online for the most part, and so even if the person physically travels to the store to return with the item, I would assert that most of the shopping was done on the phone or on a computer, as far as looking at the products, reading about them, researching, going on social media, viewing their peer groups. What are they buying? What are they showing? And I wanted to get into that. Never mind. I almost went into a Labubu discussion, but it's okay. And also, when we see the government, and this is why I don't care to, generally speaking, discuss who the president is or the color of the administration. It's mostly not relevant, largely irrelevant, in my opinion. But certainly of late, the government is playing its cards close to the vest in certain ways, and not, instead of perhaps releasing even more phony metrics and numbers than normal, just, not releasing the information. Millennials team referenced Walmart and Target CEOs stepping down recently, and I'm assuming some of that probably has to do with, they must announce earnings at some point as publicly traded companies. Some of these figures have to be released, but outside of that, would not the online shopping make it easier for the system itself to just lie about the sales, the total sales numbers, and the profits? Commercial vehicles, right lane on, speed 45. Know about all that. Sorry, Bobo, we was bright light. Well, it might be a longer day than I expected if we're going 45 the whole way there. I doubt it. Doubt that to be the case. We shall see. And it reminds me of Orwell's 1984 predictive programming around, notions of the government makes these announcements, 15 million pairs of boots were produced last quarter. And, the characters in the novel, acknowledging that there's really no availability of new boots. And then, of course, the black market around procuring certain products like razors for shaving, while simultaneously being expected to be clean shaven and, give a certain appearance of everything's fine, and of course tied to party membership in the book. which presumably would be Communist Party. Because not everybody is, and that's some version of citizenship functionally. Of course, then the proles or the proletariat, that's the underclass or the, the low station toilet scrubbers or whatever, criminals and ruffians, presumably, who they're just not capable of or willing to toe the party line. Sex workers, all of this. Of course, the interplay between the party members and the proletariat as well. It's all quite fascinating. It seems to be not something that's on the horizon. And if Americans don't see, this is what's perpetuated, is this idea that, oh my goodness, things are getting bad. Okay, well, that already pushes it off into the future, which in some way implies that it can't be bad right now. What? It's been bad my whole life. And then people want to talk about mind control and all of these things. Is it not possible that we were mind controlled into enjoying the 80s and the 90s, into thinking that was wonderful? I don't know, man. Go back and watch some TV commercials. You can find like these 45-minute blocks of like 1987 TV commercials or what have you. And I've watched some of that, and my mind has erased it. And I've seen like this one particular Starburst commercial and realized I've seen that 5,000 times. That commercial. And I don't know that people really have acknowledged just how much television we all used to watch, and some still do, of course, but most of it is now the phone. So when I see a channel like Tragic Reality, a younger fella, I believe he's in his 20s, and he's lamenting riding the train and every person's on their phone and blah, 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 looking at their screens. And he doesn't reference the past directly necessarily, but he doesn't seem to understand, and why would he, that, this is not a new thing. Now, maybe the public side of it is a new thing, but it wasn't that long ago in the 80s and the 90s, although I guess it is that long ago, but 35 years ago or whatever. Just how much time, especially younger people, stared at their television. I mean, how much time is involved in me seeing one Starburst ad 5,000 times? I wish I was exaggerating. I'm pretty sure I'm not. And you want to talk about psychedelic and surreal, watching that commercial and having no memory of it until seeing it again, and then realizing, oh, I've seen this 5,000 times. It was Starburst candies unwrapped and arranged like a roller coaster or a water slide. And it's a first person view so that the viewer is seemingly the rainbow of various flavors. Right. There's no way I haven't seen that 5,000 times. And then just other, like a Werther's Original commercial, and just the bizarre, surreal feel of like a grandpa with the grandkids, right? So back then, if you look at a chicken or the egg, I think many people erroneously think, well, of course, that's why the TV advertising had grandpa, white grandpa with his two, young, blonde hair, blue-eyed grandsons, right? Not daughters, sons. And so it's easy in inverted world to say, okay, that was a reflection of, a self-governing, self-leading American population, and this is what was best for America. Or was America just as mind controlled then as it is now? And is that what propaganda was suiting the system at the time, to build up all of this infrastructure and, the physical cabling and the circuitry and the chips, the microchips, to operate, the current, not the future, not the impending, not the approaching, the current data center dystopia, not the one that's psychologically relegated to the near future and therefore hope is alive. But what I've said is, well, it seems like each human, myself included, contained within them is something I refer to as a hope station. And it represents nothing other than this is a human with sentiment and perception. It's not based on anything. It's a mechanism, right? And maybe the mind control puts it there. I don't know. I think it's at some level a stand-in for the so-called human spirit, right? Well, now acknowledging and in the full presence, well, perhaps the full presence of the spirit of what I am. Well, the human spirit ain't what I am, clearly. That is not what I am. So really, when I say normie or NPC normie, I think really what we're talking about is beings who are so strongly identified with human spirit or human consciousness that more and more, some of us, for whatever reason, it becomes almost two separate species. And a lot of you that listen to this, it's not important if I know you individually or I can draw my own conclusions about your activities, but it seems like, and when I say spirituality, I don't mean morality. Really what we're talking about is, overall, we're talking about a certain level of conscious awareness, and how with consciousness is awareness, but how do individuals deal with that in their lives? A lot of repression, a lot of social problems. Now, Benton may be a little different when it comes to discipline and avoiding some of these things, but then also having other challenges, antisocial, just bizarre social interactions and such. So clearly all of the individuals that I'm referring to are deeply flawed, but only from the perspective of so-called human consciousness or humanity, which this realm only ever treats as wholly good, wholly wonderful, and above reproach. Although, yeah, it has its challenges, but of course, the idea that most people are good and that, the evil is an anomaly. And most of my life, it would just more or less taken for granted that humanity was like 95% good and wholesome, and then you had the 5%, more or less rotten to the core. Oh, that's not the case at all. The human spirit or human consciousness is rotten to the core by default, clearly. Now it's driven forth as a beast of burden through mind control and through the necessity of a functioning society. Moloch's machine must have a society that functions on behalf and for and in service of Moloch's machine. And then that's the society that the public individually is gaslit into tacitly accepting as proper, or at least potentially proper, or, well, recently it was proper, but Biden's poopy diaper has influenced it to go off the rails. This is all nonsense, and it's gaslighting. It's all gaslighting. And then the stories of what's going on in society become even more surreal. And a lady in a series of TikToks which I don't use TikTok and never will, but a lot of content gets remixed onto YouTube. Hang on, we got something going on in the sensitive internal space. Probably some more healing, more bad energy being released, perhaps. So bear with me. But a lady had gone to Target, and they had some kind of convoluted promotion. If you buy 3 products in a specific category, then you get this bag for free. And there's signage all over the place. You know, there's fine print. And you have certain people, like this woman telling the story, and, you know, she's on chemicals, right? Prescription meds, anti-anxieties, antidepressants, Adderall probably, or some form of that. So she's focused in, man, and she's, you know, she's coached up. Her social media's got her coached up. She's out here, you know, extreme couponing, the 2025 version of extreme couponing. She's going everywhere and getting everything for free that she can. She's taking full advantage of whatever's out there. Now, she doesn't say this. It's just I'm able to tell. I didn't even see her. I heard her talking. But I know this is what's happening. So now she's at the store, and of course, the computer, why would Target program their computer to automatically, when all 4 items, and why would the computer just automatically put 0 price on the bag? Because some people are not, some people are aware, some people of course, a human must talk to another human. And so the lady, you know, is talking to the clerk, and they're like, yeah, I don't know, whatever, let's get the manager over here. And the manager, who's probably some version, you know, from a more ghetto culture, I'm assuming, not that there's any, hell, so am I, by the way. If anybody's seen the most recent post on my post tab, that's, if you watch that video, that's where old Benton's from. I might get into that. I found that fascinating. The ghetto ain't what it used to be, clearly. And, you know, when is the acknowledgement of just that society has degenerated further since the pandemic, and it was already in a state of degeneration, perpetual degeneration? And when will folks pull their heads out of their asses and say, oh, that's right, the taxpayers signed off on a bailout of the world banking system back in 2008, 2009. And that, in fact, economically, this is probably the start of that fallout. Not the oh, well, that was all paid back and America came out the other end. Absolutely not. Because there was, you know, talk of millions of people driven into homelessness, people losing their homes and all of this. And then it all got memory hold. Well, no, this is the millions of homeless. This is the millions of people who can't afford to live in a house or an apartment. That's what this is. And it's a direct result of 2008, 2009. And it's a direct result of the people being afforded the opportunity to, air quotes, wake up and say, hey, we're not bailing out the world banking system. But they were gaslit and mocked and ridiculed and agreed to do as they were told. And then the same thing happened during the pandemic. And then they bailed out the banking system for the second time. And most of you don't even know that, because after the public consented to the first round, why would the system even bother to ask your permission? you, and not you, the listener, the American individual already went along with it. There's no I don't even need to ask you at this point, says the system. And and Benton doesn't need credit, but I used to go around telling people when talking about the bailouts, I said, I hope you know they're going to do this again in 10 to 15 years. Like there's no way this is a one-off. And then in order to put their heads in the sand, oh yeah, well, everything's fine, nothing to see here. They wouldn't do that. Well, they just did it. And they meaning the system. Well, what do you mean they wouldn't do that? They wouldn't do a reverse Robin Hood for the second time? Take from the poorest and give to the richest? And then laugh and mock and ridicule and gaslight around Section 8 and food stamps? Are you crazy? I don't even want to get into that right now. That burns me up. So when I allow it to, which is rare. Went there for a few moments yesterday. And so back to the idea of the human spirit, guess what? When upsetting things happen, the flesh or the human is supposed to be upset. I'm supposed to experience anger and agitation from time to time based upon what's going on. That's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. Now, not to be obsessed, not to be in a constant state of fear or anger, but to experience it. What's this say? Yeah, commercial vehicles, right lane. I bet I'm about to see far few crashes this time around, although I saw a few big rigs crashing around St. Louis a few weeks ago, but either way. And now part of leadership is you can't have a leader and you can't have leadership that doesn't own the failure, right? So in order for the American people to lead themselves, they would have to be psychologically capable of saying, oh, you're right. We let all of that happen in 08, 09. We watched it happen. And we made excuses for it and we went along with it. And that was wrong. And now that's why Gen Z doesn't want to work. That's why they have to continue to live with their parents. Most of them. And yes, some of the boomers and some of the millennials and some of these folks know how to conduct themselves financially to not go into ruin yet. But make no mistake, this is the complete and utter financial ruin of all of the individuals in society who are not rich, which is, again, this idea of a middle class that's never existed. There never has been and never will be a middle. There can't be. That's house slaves versus field slaves. If you want to call the house slaves middle class and the field slaves working class, well, there you go. Who cares? They're both slaves. They're both poor. Only the rich people have validation in this system of evil and wickedness. Only rich people, because this world is based on the lack of abundance. So therefore, all resources are treated as if they're very precious and limited. And that's wealth. Wealth is, hey, serve Moloch's machine, serve evil, serve wickedness to the nth degree, and you will be granted access to resources. How do you think my grandfather ended up with Benton Oil Company? I presume after serving evil to a limited degree and probably mostly didn't even understand what he was serving. And then eventually probably figured it out enough to sort of negotiate some business connections. And then being able to leverage, fame and, football's a big damn deal, especially down south. Right? But certainly served evil whether he knew it or not. And see, that's the thing is, do you think evil gives a fuck if the individual lives in a way that seems to be proper and moral? Why would it? I think all it cares about is it being served? And if the answer is yes, well, here's your access to resources so that you can be comfortable and you can view yourself some type of way. But it's not you, it's they. See, the pronouns don't even work. It's not you, the listener. It's one or the being or it's them. And make no mistake, the wealthy are the enemy because the wealthy are only wealthy because they serve that which makes an enemy of what I am. All they that hate, air quotes, so-called God love death. And the only way to get one's hands on a bunch of resources and keep hold of them is to serve evil. That's it. And to serve death. There is no other way. We know hard work doesn't do it. We know that. And yeah, can a being be gaslit and lied to and said, hey, work for the city for 20 years, we'll give you a pension and a retirement. And then the system always knows, well, if the system needs to, we can always steal the retirement later. So what's the difference? Let him have it. And yeah, that's a minor level of service to evil. So we'll give him or her thinks, oh my God, my neighbor who was able to somehow work 15 to 20 years for the county and then work 15 to 20 years for the city. Can you believe that they're 50 now or whatever, and they get $4,600 a month in pension? Yeah, that's not shit, folks. 60 G's a year tax free is nothing. They let me have that for driving a truck, shitting in bags and pissing in bottles. Foreigners come here and maybe they don't get initially, they get robbed. They work for pennies on the dollar, even compared to me, a lot of them. But if they manage to stick around, they get 60 G's for driving around, shitting in bags, pissing in bottles. How can we pretend like 60 grand? It's nothing. Now, I understand a lot of us were raised up to be able to live comfortably on 60 G's even today. I understand that. Feel free to go watch a well-produced video recently filmed in my hometown. I can buy a house and a car and live for a year on 60 grand in my home easily. And pay pay everything, pay the property tax, pay people to mow my yard. I mean, the whole thing. But it looks like Beirut visually. Well, if a person is culturally used to a visual Beirut, what's the difference? And a lot of you, yeah, maybe it's the lovely fucking rural countryside. It's goddamn Beirut on some level. Meaning bombed out and depleted. The fact that you was raised up in it and are wistfully sort of romanticize it, well, yeah, it's Same thing with Beirut. Sure. Same thing with Afghanistan. I'm sure they're wistfully, they got some type of regard for the fucking underground caves and shit and the rocks. Lay down in a bed of rocks. The number one feature of the human is adaptation to environment. So yeah, it's an advantage in some ways that many of us hail from bombed out and depleted third world conditions. And I challenge any of you to point to something more bombed out and depleted than where I'm from. Meanwhile, it seemed affluent and fantastic. I never had any trouble getting a job. Why? Because I came online right after the worst job market in probably American history, which was 1983. And people want to say, I hear people on these TikTok videos saying, the worst inflation of all time. This ain't nothing compared to 1965 to 1983. Are you crazy? This is nothing. Now, part of that is the metrics are all fucked. And even when the government's willing to be somewhat transparent, it's already giving you information that it's lying about. Meanwhile, yeah, it was lying back then too, but now it lies more. Sure, this ain't nothing. This is a drop in the bucket. And the reality is, if the nuclear family was actually what was best for the beings who inhabit this realm, I can drive a truck for 1 week and pay the rent for me, a wife, and a child. 1 week, that's 25%. But is she going to be capable of doing what she needs to do? And am I going to be capable of doing what I need to do? Right? It's gone because it no longer serves the system. And the error is in thinking, humanity was proper and humanity just did the right thing of its own accord. No, humanity was led into doing what seemed like the right thing, but it wasn't ever the right thing, because it can't ever be the right thing if it's in service of Moloch's machine and it's in service of industrial and post-industrial society. It can't be the proper thing. You can rest assured that whatever the populace is being led to do at any given time is always contrary to their individual interest, and is always will lead to what serves the system to the detriment of the people. And that includes the nuclear family of the post-war period, Ozzie and Harriet Leave It to Beaver. That was detrimental, clearly. Anybody that can look at 2025 and say with a straight face that the nuclear family is the proper way to live is insane. That's insane. Well, okay, I'm looking at the result of the nuclear family. I'm not blaming the nuclear family. I'm saying a society based on the nuclear family has propagated and led to what you see in 2025. That's what it became. Therefore, that's what it always was. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist to utilize enough logic and reason and intuition. How come I am able to figure that out? Well, it's because most of Benton's life, he's mostly refused to strongly and fully identify with the realm and what the realm propagates. Well, yeah, I agreed to go along with a lot of it and used it in some ways to what I believed to be my own advantage, which in fact was not it was simply not the case in the final analysis. But this is what the nuclear family in the context of capitalist society leads to. You're seeing it. And people say, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean? It's an experiment. We now have the data. The fucking data is in. This is what it becomes. It's been proven out. And people are so delusional and in denial, they won't face it. Oh, well, no, it's just, the government did this, and then some of the people were... What do you mean? People did what people do. Governments did what governments do. Corporations did what corporations do. Markets did what markets do. And it all led to the present situation. That's like, what more proof do you need? But keep trying to gaslight me into pretending like it's just all been so lovely and wonderful. It hasn't. It's been a fucking waking nightmare. It was a waking nightmare in 1987. I know, I was there. I understand we were psychologically programmed to enjoy it, and the system needed us to have fun and enjoy it. So guess what? We had fun and enjoyed it, and we were young, which goes hand in hand, most of us. Did I really need Pepsi Cola, Doritos, Walmart, Kmart, Sears, a BMX bicycle, Nintendo Entertainment System, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Batman 1989 movie? Did I need all of this to have fun and enjoy myself? Or is that what the system did for the system's purposes? To kill two birds with one stone, to do what it needed to do, to build things up, to produce the present moment, to stage it theatrically, almost like a play, to put on a play. And the individuals acting and being led and directed all along the way, because individuals will do damn near anything to avoid being self-directed. They will not direct themselves. Humanity is addicted to its own enslavement. It's called the smartphone. It's called social media. It's called, they can't wait to wake up in the morning to look at their phone and watch what they understand on some level is active mind control. They love their psychological enslavement. Shout out to Julian Hudson. We're there, buddy. But people will see that old crackly black and white video and say, yeah, man, it's getting bad. That's probably going to happen. Right here, right now, the masses of people love their psychological enslavement. They love it. Undebatably. However, the listener or anybody else feels about it means nothing. That's a human having a feeling. We've all got them. So what? It don't amount to a hill of beans. But nothing. How about be a big boy, put your big girl pants on, and deal with your stupid fucking emotions and leave me the fuck alone? Because I didn't want to, but I put my big boy pants on over 10 years ago and said, well, whatever I got to do, I'm going to master these here emotions. And we're not quite there yet, but doing pretty fucking good overall. Because all that's required is the tiniest speck of improvement day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. 10 years and days is 3,600 individual reps of doing just a little bit better emotionally every day. Well, shit, how long was we gone? I had an epiphany about these street level drug users. Those folks are under maximum spiritual attack at all times, and probably have been every moment of their life. And I had to make myself stop listening to these horrific stories of what happens to babies. But I won't get into details. But I heard some details, and what was done to this one particular, I don't know, 6-year-old boy, 7-year-old boy. You think spiritually the system doesn't understand what he might have grown into? Some version of a Christ figure, perhaps? Because there's really no other explanation for what the demons who somehow were able to be his caretakers done to him. Right. And they ended his life. Now, why Bitten was subjected to psychological versions, but not really ever the physical versions that I'm aware of. But who knows? I mean, I don't want to get too much into details, but there's things about my own sternum and rib cage where I'm looking at myself and I'm feeling what's going on skeletally, and I'm like, man, it's almost like somebody with a gigantic, powerful hand fucking crushed my little fucking sternum and ribs when I was a baby. I mean, who the fuck knows? I don't fucking know. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know what they done to me entirely. Does it matter? But the system might say, well, we know we can't destroy what these things are, so some of these babies they're going to get taken out early. So when the system knows and understands that humanity will accept a certain number of the youth just being directly taken out by the society, and it is an expert in evil and all of this wicked spirits, why wouldn't it make sure that the beings with the highest potential to express in a Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk way, why wouldn't it take them out? Or in the case of Benton, maybe it's like, well, if he goes the one way, he'll be a really good servant of evil. And then if he goes the other way, we'll have him under enough spiritual attack to thwart some of his efforts, and probably they won't ever come to fruition. Well, what I am is the victory, bozos. So it's been there the whole time, and now it's been uncovered. This whole idea of what's hidden will be brought to light. Well, if that's the case with some of these young people, well, the system says, well, we're not willing. The system's not willing to have that brought to light. What's deeply buried. So let's go ahead and the system buries it, and along the way treats it like it's scum. Every one of these stories involves, and it's usually a male child is treated by the caretakers as if it were the absolute scum, the highest form of scum possible. But why is that never the being that would later on end up being an abuser? Or this idea that, well, most of these predators, they were preyed on. No, nah, that's bullshit. That's a bunch of bullshit. Nope. Because what was done to me, I've never done to anybody. And never would. Part of that is the nuclear family making a kid and then doing to them what was done to me, which was fairly minor comparatively in certain ways. Absolutely not. And part of the reason my own family can't fucking stand me is I tell them to their face, I broke the cycle. Meaning, y'all hit about age 20 and started popping out kids and then put them through a program of systematized abuse. I'm the only one who didn't. And I tell them to their face. Now I leave some of that out and let them fill in the gaps. I say, I broke the cycle. Just tell it to them to their face. And I say, because if I had kids when y'all had kids, I'd have done the same thing y'all did. That's leading oneself. That's owning one's own. That's owning one's fallen, wicked flesh. That's saying, yeah, that's what the flesh does in the context of the nuclear family. It abuses, it sacrifices the child to Moloch, and it indoctrinates them into the service of Moloch's machine of industrial and post-industrial society. And every single motherfucker in my family did it except for me. And we have one person who's come unto true knowledge of self / self-realization. Is that a coincidence? I don't think it is. So I ain't one of them. I can't never be one of them. I never was one of them. And if they had any capacity to love me, they would devote themselves to uncovering and walking the perfected path that lies within, but they won't or they can't. So fuck them. Never needed them. Have you considered my family, aka my servant Job? Have at him, antithesis. Because he's either what I am or he ain't. My family was either what I am or I ain't, or they weren't. And if they're not what I am, fuck them. Good for nothing, don't need them. And I don't mean in a sense of performers within the context of society. And I don't mean that. I mean spiritual, but not in a vindictive, vengeful way. In a here's your judgment. What humans are taught judgment is through religion is inverse. Everything that can't be redeemed casts itself into the fire. It separates the wheat from the chaff, because if it can't be redeemed, it isn't redeemed, meaning what is worthy of redemption is redemption and proves itself not to be redeemed. It proves itself to be beyond wickedness, beyond so-called sin, beyond defeat, beyond death, beyond all of these things. Those things can never mar, mark, or touch what I am. And any forms of consciousness that identify in ways behaviorally that prove that they are not in alignment with the spirit of what I am, they cast themselves onto the fire. They are destroyed. Because if they weren't destroyed and depraved and fallen, they would prove themselves to be what I am. That's the every knee shall bow. That's the make the tree good or make the tree rotten. That's the better, hot or cold, the lukewarm is spat out of the mouth. There is no middle ground. One is either wholly in alignment, mind, body, and spirit with what they are, or they are fallen and wicked. And wickedness don't give a flying fuck. The rotten tree don't give a flying fuck how much energy and effort an individual puts into plausibly appearing to be good and righteous. That's why the idea of check these boxes and you will get past the judgment. Bullshit. Jesus never created a bureaucracy. You can't point to anything in the Bible that represents Christ creating a bureaucracy. It's not in there. That's humans that said, hey, here's your rules, do these things, and then you can forget about how you conduct your affairs because you saved and born again, and now you can go out here and serve Moloch's machine of industrial and post-industrial society. That's what religion teaches. And I say, well, that's not in the Bible anywhere. That's certainly not anywhere in the teachings of Christ. There's no set of rules. There's people asking questions and either trying to gather evidence through trickery and deception to get the Lord to misspeak, or there's people asking questions, and other than that is the Lord teaching in parables. And none of the parables has anything to do with rule following. None of it. And I mean, no, there's no rules. Because what I am can't express what it is based on a series of rules or a set of rules. That doesn't work. Life itself, creative expansion, highest authority, highest forms of justice, that's not based on red tape, bureaucracy, apparatchiks, and rules. That's all evil. That's this wicked system does all of that. That's inverted. What I am don't need no playbook. Because what I am can't possibly express unrighteousness. It's not possible, folks. And I don't care how that sounds. However that sounds is your problem, not mine. I can't be touched by what you think or feel about reality or the reality of what I am. There's no effect because you have no power outside of yourself, and I'm outside of you in the context of this delusion. See how it works? Holy individual experience spiritual. This world can do nothing to me. Therefore, it ain't shit. Because if it were shit, then it could have power over me. It can't. That ain't possible. Some power by proxy to be led and bandied about. Old Lou, the dispatcher, I brought up Jesus one time and he couldn't stand it. Because this company, they bring it all back to money. That's fine. You can bring it back to money all you want. Money can't touch what I am. If money never existed, I would still be what I am. If Benton the performer never exited his mother's womb into this matrix, womb being another word for matrix, in 1975, in the context of delusion, everything would be almost exactly as it is. What's the fucking difference? But the realm gaslights and says it's your fault, Benton. You're to blame. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I didn't do any of this. But I did. It's the subversion of the creative force. And leadership is to own my little part in that. So, but not through guilt, not through fear, not through shame. To own it and say, okay, well, now that I know better, we're not going to do that anymore. And yeah, it's a process, and we're still performing tasks in exchange for Federal Reserve notes, sure. I don't know. Would it be any different if they paid me in Walmart gift cards? Walmart and Amazon gift cards? At this point, I could probably live in the truck and live off of Walmart and Amazon gift cards. Trying to think of when else do I spend money when I'm working? I guess go ahead and throw in a gift card for the truck stop while you're at it. I guess we're good. Call it a day, just in case I need something in there. And okay, now he's not handling money anymore. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to accomplish, but then I don't know. Is a gift card that, is that really different? Is that really different? I don't know. Don't really care. And what I see is the MAGA, the traditional family values, family types in the so-called truth community, they're all chasing money while believing themselves to be Christians. And their book says, well, you can serve, air quote, so-called God, or you can chase money, but you can't do both. Okay. Well, they're chasing money. So what else do I need to know about them? And people will gaslight and mock and ridicule and say, well, Benton, you're chasing money. Well, that's your opinion. I know what the score is. Or maybe the money's chasing me. Somehow I remain employable as a truck driver. And it's a minor miracle every time I get rehired, because it's like my work history is just, it makes no sense to the NPC normie. It's too incongruous. They can't reconcile or rationalize my work. Who would choose, to live on an amount of money for a time and go broke and sleep in a car? Who would choose that? Well, I've done it. In fact, I was still so used to sleeping rough that I had literal thousands of dollars and was in between trucking jobs and chose to pitch a tent every night. Had a car, thousands of dollars, and chose to pitch a tent. See, they can't reconcile that. And when people are chasing money, why would they ever let me quit this job? Because let's face it, it's been twice now I've been quitting the job. And I don't mean threatening to quit. That's a different thing. And again, the realm will only ever treat me like I'm guilty. So it's, the dispatcher who's, these Eastern Europeans are telling him, well, just whatever you got to tell this guy, but you can't let him run over you. So now he's got to try to run over me. Good luck with that. And I don't like your chances. The owner can't even really do it. Nobody can. And that's not a point of pride, but now he's basically like, do you want to work here? But see, when it's all tied to fear around, especially a nuclear family or a mama at home or child support or just whatever the financial obligations are, a dispatcher can say that. And he's threatening my job. Well, it's like, what do you mean? I'm the one that's quitting. Why am I being talked to like I'm going to be fired? Like, I was quitting and they talked to me like I was being fired. Well, because by then me and the owner got to the mutual part of, Like, hey, man, he doesn't want to have a conversation with me in a particular way, and I don't want to have those. Neither one of us wants to have the conversations we've been having. So it's like, yeah, I'll quit, and he's like, yeah, we'll fire you, basically. Which happens, and it's happened to me one other time in trucking. From my perspective, I was quitting, and from their perspective, they were firing me. So they're treating me like, hey, man, we were going to fire you, but we're going to give you another chance. And my thing is, what do you mean? I'm quitting. So you're talking me into staying. And both are occurring simultaneously. And both are equally valid from a perspective. We don't share the same perspective because I'm not motivated in money in the way that they assume that I am or would be. And they can't, it's incongruous. They can't normalize it. And if I'm going to drive a truck, somebody's going to figure out how to keep me. It's not my fault that none of these companies have figured out how to retain my services. That's their fault. Just like I told these kids in their 20s in Alton Baker Park, probably 2015 or so, maybe 2016, I said, hey, man, and these were Jesus freaks, you know, all on fire for the Lord or whatever. And, you know, they wanted to, you get into this idea of, you know, it's shameful to be unemployed or whatever. Well, ain't no shame in my game. And I told them, hell, if I wanted a job, I'd have a job. I'm employable. And I said, listen, man, capitalism operates based on, it's an inefficiency that capitalism lets me sit at this park bench and talk to you two. I say that's capitalism's failure. It's capitalism's job to entice me into the workforce. And they just thought I was out of my fucking mind. They equated that with a moral failure. Oh, listen a bit. He's so decadent, depraved, evil, wicked, and fallen that, and who does he think he is? I'm like, look, man, this is how capitalism functions. It's capitalism's job to provide the incentives that I'll show up and do whatever capitalism wants. It's not my problem. That's capitalism's problem. I mean, haven't you read any books? Haven't you thought for yourself? I mean, obviously, again, this is why there's no such thing as common sense. Common sense. It's obviously capitalism has operated itself based on it has to have access to labor. I'm labor. I'm sitting here at a park bench unemployed talking to you. How can that ever be my fault? If I'm able-bodied, sane, intelligent, and capable, and willing, and has a work ethic. How can that ever be my fault? It can't be. It's not possible. Because surprise, surprise, when the system finally figured out how to properly incentivize me, I went right back into the workforce and did. Not only was I productive, I was highly productive. And not only was I highly productive, I did one of the least desirable and what's considered one of the most important jobs in society. Surprise, surprise. And lived as a white nigger coolie. And I don't mean nigger in a racial connotation. White nigger coolie. I lived as a white nigger coolie for 14 consecutive months. I did that when properly incentivized by capitalism. And you should have seen their reaction. And I was right. They were wrong because they went by their feelings, and what they have been taught is morality, which is a bunch of lies. And it was a bunch of lies when it perpetrated and perpetuated the nuclear family as morally righteous. It's not. Sorry, hate to break it to you. It's a way in which humans can live. It's a way in which new humans can be produced. It ain't morally righteous. That can be morally righteous, but it's not de facto by default morally righteous. It's not. Hmm. Because if it was, it never could have led to this. That would not be possible. Proper society could not possibly become present society. Therefore, society has never been proper, ever, because proper society would never, ever, 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 ever be able to lead to what is going on today. And I would say that how individuals view that, so what? And because this seems horrific doesn't mean 1987 was wonderful. If you are anywhere near my age of 50, I challenge you to go watch a 45-minute block of television commercials from 1986 and get back to me. And what is brought unto your remembrance as a result. And if that looks like anything you would want to return to, me and you ain't the same thing. Get on my level. Or don't. It's got nothing to do with me. So I would say step one to proper society is individuals need to understand it doesn't fucking matter what any of us does. All that matters is what do I do? And people are aghast and say, what do you mean? We're all in this together. It's collaborative. Yeah, it's collaborative in the service of evil and wickedness and death and destruction. If it's going to be collaborative in service of the spirit of what I am, that's only ever going to be able to begin individually. Why does Moloch's machine begin collectively? Invert the inversion, and there's your answers. There's your fake it till you make it. Well, Moloch's machine starts out by putting everybody on a team and teamwork and put them all in the classroom, teach them all the same things, have them acting more alike than unalike, more similar than dissimilar. So probably the proper strategy is to go within yourselves, let your freak flag fly, figure it out for yourselves on behalf of you, come what may. That's probably the answer, some version of a spiritual warrior quest from day motherfucking one, Jack. Yeah, teach the kids how to wipe their own butts and teach them basic education. Leave them the fuck alone otherwise. Who the fuck are you to intervene with the youth? And I see in the YouTube comments some of this true crime stuff, especially if children are involved. Oh, well, my 3-year-old niece acts this type of way when they're in trouble. And what I am goes, how could a 3-year-old possibly do anything to be in trouble? If anybody's in trouble, it's you, adult. What could that innocent, spiritually perfected child possibly do to be in trouble? I'll wait. Yeah, they need to be corrected so that they don't endanger themselves. Beyond that, what could they do to be in trouble? Annoy you? Embarrass you? Inconvenience you? Who the fuck are you? That's the most precious gift. That's spiritual innocence and perfection. You're wicked, depraved, and fallen because of falsely identifying with your dead flesh. And we know what fallen, wicked, evil, decadent, depraved, repugnant, fallen, dead flesh does to symbols of spiritual perfection and innocence. It's jealous. That's a cope. You want to go back to 1980? Oh, what were you in a state? Were you still in a state of spiritual perfection in 1980? Well, of course you want to go back to 1980. The peak of gasoline prices adjusted for inflation. You want to go back to that? Because that it's the economics is why you want to go back to 1980, right? It can't possibly be that you weren't yet defiled by this world. That can't possibly be your reason for wanting to go back to 1980. That's leadership. That's owning your own part in things. That's stepping into your power. Is to say, it don't matter one whit what these bozos do. All that matters is, what do I do? What have I done? What will I do now and going forward? That's it. And what little tiny bit of harm I might have visited upon the youngsters, I remember every single time it happened. And none of it was very serious. I was kind of shitty to some children here and there a couple of times in my whole motherfucking life. Now, that doesn't make me better than you. But let's face the reality, nobody's raised children and done so without visiting harm after harm after harm after harm onto those children. And until people can go within themselves and face that and own it and alchemize it and come out the other end of it, there is no hope for them. None. Reconciliation. You don't have to go make it right with them. You got to make it right with you. Confess, repent, seek forgiveness, am forgiven like it never happened. And the only way to do that, the only way to repent, is to uncover and righteously bring forth a being that will make the tree good, that will only ever bring forth proper fruit, such that if that being were to be entrusted with the care of little ones, they would never visit any harm upon them. That's the only way to repent. And without repentance, there can be no forgiveness. And Benton's done a lot of wickedness. And Benton is forgiven for it through repentance and seeking of forgiveness like it never happened. That's your spirit of righteousness, Saul of Tarsus. The entire gospel of Paul is based on the notion that, well, we had a Lord Jesus Christ. He set a perfect example. Look at what you've done. You're guilty. No, I'm not. What I am is the way. What I am is the truth. What I am is the life. No one comes unto true knowledge of self except through Christ consciousness, aka what I am. I am that one. And if you hear that and say, oh, he's calling himself, air quote, so-called God, I say, well, I know where you are. You're aligned with wickedness and evil if you say that to me. I know what master is served by that response. I've got all the information I need. In some ways, this realm needs me to have something to do, or I'm going to end up starting a motherfucking cult. I don't want to start no cult. Then I'll be spending all day around the types of undesirables who would join a cult. No, thank you. Spent way too much time with them growing up. Some of them was my own parents. And the fact is, they can't ever have my full respect. Because what I am can't respect people who would join a cult. And now what I see in this world is effectively everybody's in a cult. And humanity is not respectable. It's just not. It's not respectable. Now, I don't say that at a level of vengeance, or it needs to be dealt with, or it should be this, destroyed or punished. Absolutely not. Because the potential righteous expression still exists. See? So that's most of the function of Christianity, is based on the gospel of Paul, which is to say, hey, man, even if you start down the path of being Christ-like, it's not possible. And I say, well, it's not possible for me to express unrighteously when properly identified. So I don't know what you're talking about. And what do you think evil and wickedness can do? All it can do is mock and ridicule and gaslight. That's all it has, folks. And then it can connect all of that with the pleasures of the flesh, which is connected to money, which is the trucking company wants me to do certain things and not do other things. And its only weapon is to connect that to money. Okay, well, now I have enough money to where I don't have, I can replace everything, all of my possessions in this truck. I can just go buy them right now and still have money to live in a motel until I figure out my next move. They have no power over me. And they never did, and they never will. This world has no power over me, and it never has, and it never will. That's freedom. And I can't package it and give it to you. I can't package it and earn a living off of it, because the moment I package it, it's no longer living, it's no longer in flow, and it's no longer the thing. It becomes a dead thing, and all I can do is sell you a dead thing, and that can never be the real thing. See, it can't be sold and disseminated. Capitalism can't touch what I am. All it can do is convince and cajole and coerce and bully and browbeat symbolic representations of wisdom, supreme authority, justice, love, light, creation, expansion into serving that system. It's all it can do. And individuals are the only ones who can go within themselves, uncover the real thing, align themselves with the real thing, come what may. There's no guarantee, because the guarantee would have to be in the context of this wicked world. In fact, there is a guarantee. This wicked world guarantees that you will be persecuted. You will be spiritually attacked. You will be deprived resources. You will be gaslit. You will be mocked. You will be ridiculed. Just like Christ says, the servant is not greater than the master. You've seen what they've done to me. What do you think they're going to do to you? Because remember, they respected Christ on some level. Do they respect you? Are they going to respect you when you behave based on true knowledge of self? Or especially when you ain't there yet? Like Benton wasn't there yet? Do we not remember, some of you who I know listen to more of these than you don't? Don't we remember when I was gaslit, spiritually attacked, mocked, and ridiculed by what I believe to be, a close acquaintance? And it just happened to occur right before I had this, the epiphany, or whatever we're calling it, of true knowledge of self. Demons sent that man to spiritually attack me years ahead of time. That's what happened, folks. Now, he's not to blame for that. He's a victim of that. Because if he's possessed of Nancy Pelosi's MS-13 spark of divinity, right? I don't blame him. It's a compliment, actually. Sometimes I see the sophistication of the evil and wickedness that comes against me, and it's a compliment. Because I can tell you this, that garden variety, run-of-the-mill spiritual attack, it don't even bother. Sexual thoughts, maybe once or twice a week. Maybe. Any sorts of so-called desires of the flesh, very limited. Very limited. Hmm. And I've had motherfuckers in the so-called truth community try to lecture me about my so-called pride. Meanwhile, I've been working with it my whole life. And the individual in question, who I'm thinking of, hadn't even figured out yet that it's not a good idea to drink poison on a regular basis. Like, surely we can all recognize, as a person who used to regularly drink poison, it ain't possible to regularly drink poison and to simultaneously take oneself seriously as a being. You realize these are mutually exclusive, I hope. You can have one, you can drink the poison, or you can treat yourself like you are or you can take yourself seriously. You can't do both. No serious person would drink poison on a regular basis. Doesn't even make sense. I say, what do you mean? Ethanol is a poison by definition. It's not an opinion. It has a MSDS. It's a hazardous material. It's literal poison. You put ethanol in a tanker truck and drive it across town, it's got the skull and crossbones on it, buddy. And this again is why there's no such thing as common sense. I don't know what that was, getting purged up out of the system, but it was mighty powerful indeed. Man, boy, howdy. Something had enough. See, every once in a while, something inside of me has had all it can stand and it can't stand no more. And it says, I'm out of here. And it just fucking leaves. That's what just happened. It's happened numerous times. It said, nah, will do almost anything to stay within a human host. So for them to choose to leave is saying something indeed. Say, no, and the demonic entity is expelled out the throat chakra. That's the forceful coughing. So if you ever feel like forcefully coughing, I recommend leaning into it personally. And I was preaching to my mom one time on the phone, and she started coughing. I said, "Yeah, some demons," and she interpreted it like I was accusing her of having demons. I said, "Listen," I said, "Oh, it's just not possible that you could possibly be under demonic oppression, and it's not possible that when they start hearing proper preaching, and I know from experience that they are expelled out the throat chakra through coughing, which is an expulsion. Yeah, that's not possible. You just happen to be coughing as I'm saying these words. Okay, whatever. What could I possibly know? I'm just your otherwise brilliant son. Your genetics, woman." And as we know in the Bible, Christ corrected his own mother. His children don't belong to their parents. And this delusory world continues until either reset, and that would be if there is this idea of a golden age and then a dark ages. And if that's a cycle, then that would have to be some sort of reset of the computer simulation aspects, a wiping, a reset. There's no fixing this place. Now, if enough of the individuals figured it the fuck out and Jack and the Beanstalk it, I suspect this world would just cease to exist. It wouldn't be here. It would just it would just vanish. It would be gone. Because remember, what I am, it can't ever be separated from the indivisible force of what it is. It can't be individuated. So therefore, if enough individuals came to understand, right, and if the realm is perpetuated and created on an ongoing basis based on the delusion, the time, space, location, place, when properly identified, wouldn't the beings take back ownership of their creative force? It would no longer be subverted into creating a wicked world based on death, and this place would cease to exist. And that's the fear of the evil and the fallen and the wicked, is that while that's extremely unlikely, it's theoretically possible. And now they're gone because they trace their origins to this place, as does the wicked human flesh. And these demons can't enjoy their particular preferred forms of death. They are dependent on all of this. What I am can never be dependent on anything because it is the source of all. The source of all can never be dependent upon anything. The source of all can never lack access to resources. Which is part of the reason I was free to go live in the streets with nothing, because what I am can't ever lack resources. So what's the fucking difference? Comfort? How people view me? You want to talk about ego? Imagine the ego on somebody who thinks they're too good to, when hungry, eat out of a garbage can. Are you crazy? Like it fucking matters if other humans see you eat out of a garbage can. Oh, it's gross and disgusting. Daily life is gross and disgusting and repugnant and depraved. What are you talking about? Oh, but the gaslighting of the realm, everything's wonderful and sterile and washed clean and white linen. And you're the one who's behaving and getting everything dirty. You're the one who's dirty inside. The world is white and washed clean. That's an inversion. What I am can never be sullied or marred. My internal space, when properly identified, uncovering and walking the perfected path that lies within, that's only ever righteous and clean. The continuous overflowing of the Spirit. My cup runneth over. It's everything outside of me that's ugly, wicked, fallen, decadent, depraved, stinky, disgusting, repulsive. You're going to tell me taking perfectly good food out of a garbage can can in any way compete with this world for being disgusting? Again, this world cannot respect, acknowledge, or honor any achievement or accomplishment whatsoever that is tied to the victory that's represented by what I am. It's not allowed. So we already know there is no guru, there is no cult, there is no organization. Because if there's a guru, if there's a cult, if there's an organization, that's only because they are performing in ways that serve the system. Otherwise, the system would not allow any acknowledgement of the so-called attainments or progress of a Gandhi or a Paramahansa Yogananda or any of the Shri this or Shri that, whichever guru, Osho or whoever the fuck's bebopping around on their, whether literal, metaphorical, or both, thrones of gold, seat of gold. It's Benton as guru, and he knows he's reached that level of ascended mastery because this world will not acknowledge any measure or level of his achievement whatsoever. It has not ever happened one time. And it never will, because it can't unless it's attached to the service of this wicked system of things. This wicked system of things is not allowed and cannot and will not acknowledge such achievements. It will mock, it will ridicule, it will gaslight the spiritually ascended master. And anything you see that's being passed off or purported to be a spiritual master who's being treated well by this world cannot be such. It ain't possible. It's not allowed. It's verboten. And believe me, this wicked world, this wicked system wants me getting a paycheck. Because surprise, surprise, try as I might, I'm finding this job to be unquittable. I'm thinking the only way it's going to happen is, and I don't want to abandon the rig. I guess I know where to take it. I guess I can just drop it off at the company shop. I don't think it's going to happen any other way. And then I understand humanity. Humanity will start to feel bad if it actually believes what I'm telling it. If people listen to me claim a certain level of ascended mastery, now they feel bad. What's wrong with me? Why am I not doing that? Where's my spiritual? Where's my ascended mastery? It's where it's always been. It's inside of you. If it's there, you're the only one that can figure that out. I have no way of knowing if that's ever been inside you ever. I don't fucking know. I suspect it is. Where's the proof? Where's the fruit? Because until the tree is made good and therefore only brings forth good fruit, we can't tell. The spiritual attacks are certainly at least a sign, right? It's a pretty good barometer, at least. So the fact that individuals seem to be, the ones who are not born into wealth seem to be spiritually attacked from day one, that at least seems to be some evidence that they are in possession of Nancy Pelosi's MS-13 spark of divinity. If you don't get that reference, I don't know, Google it. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, which is a mockery. That song is the realm mocking. Because look at what they're doing. And this idea of forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, that's not this world. That's not the individuals who are here. The individuals who are here know exactly what they're doing because, as far as I can tell, the subconscious mind perfectly decodes all symbols, and it ain't possible to not know on some level exactly what the fuck's going on here. And then the individual being so mind controlled, so Stockholm syndrome, they internalize everything that ought not be internalized. They will internalize fear, guilt, and shame around not having attained what Benton's preaching on. Yeah. What do you think Benton was for most of his life? Or much of it? This is a relatively new thing overall. Yeah, bits and pieces of this have been happening for many years, but who cares? Do you think I worry about, oh my God, what about all those times when I could have been expressing righteously and who cares? That's why confess, repent, seek forgiveness, and forgiven like it never happened. That's the whole reason that's there. Move beyond it. Transcend the limitation. Why you want to wallow in the emotions around beating yourself up because you haven't done a thing yet? I don't know. How about just shut the fuck up and do the thing or not? Doesn't matter to me. I've already done it and continue to do it. Makes no difference whatsoever what you do or do not do. From my perspective, doesn't matter. Oh, but we're all in this together. What? The service of wickedness and evil? Well, no. Most people are in that together. Not me. At least not beyond the degree to which I am. And I am's not correct. Strike that from the record. At least not to the degree at which Benton is performing suboptimally based on still handling money and still hypothetically accruing tax liability. Hell, part of me hopes they come and ask for their taxes. I say, well, you see what's in my account. If you haven't taken that already, I don't know what to tell you because I'm not giving you anything beyond that. You're going to have to take that. I guess if you want to go into my pockets, I don't reckon I can stop you. Thieves. Because if I'm out here doing a job, my labor, it don't belong to nobody but me. That's my wage. That ain't the government's wage. See? That ain't my neighbor's wage. So people are angry about food stamps and Section 8 and all this because they falsely believe that that's their money in the first place. It's not your money. A bunch of gangster thugs have claimed it for their own on behalf of Antithesis to serve evil. That's who gets the money. What can happen is I can get paid in Federal Reserve notes, not pay income tax, and then if and when they show up, all I do is go, well, you're welcome to the dead flesh. Render unto Caesar, let the dead bury the dead. I mean, I guess take me wherever you're going to take me and do with me what you're going to do with me. I don't know what to tell you. I'm assuming you drained whatever was in my account before you came and talked to me, and there's about 2 G's in my pocket. I'm assuming that's going to be seized. Beyond that, let's go. Now take me to jail. Because remember, I'm only ever guilty in the view of this world anyway. Treated like criminal scum from day one. But then tolerated as long as I go to the degree at which I've agreed to go along with serving evil by serving society. Don't you get it? So clearly, wealthy people who don't have to lift a finger, who are the laziest people in society, it's not debatable. Nobody's ever hard worked themselves into wealth. It's never happened. Do some wealthy people choose to work hard? Yes, they're choosing it. They don't have to. It's a choice. Hard work alone has never made a single person wealthy. It's not possible. You can't indentured servitude your way into wealth. It's a lie. And it's a huge part of American society and American culture. Produce, work hard, and you will be rewarded. No, you'll be punished. And the people are reaping what they've sown by serving rich fat cats, by giving what is supposed to be representations of wealth and giving it to people who already have so much representation of wealth that they can't tell the difference. It's neither here nor there for them. But their very identities are based on, they must see their wealth grow ever larger in each new moment, or they literally undergo an existential crisis where they don't know who they are, because how they view themselves is based almost entirely as wealthy, which means every moment of their entire life, they become slightly wealthier. And that's the function of the economy, is to make rich people richer every new moment into perpetuity. It never, for even one delusory moment, fails to achieve its purpose. The rich get richer every moment, and the poor get poorer every moment. And yes, there are times when, if the being behaves in the ways that the system says it wants you to behave, you, as a poor person, can temporarily experience relative affluence, and it never lasts, ever. It's never lasting. The only lasting material wealth is through bloodlines and family trusts, period. It has nothing to do with currency. It has nothing to do with the money supply. Those are tools. That ain't the wealth. Oh, yeah, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Yeah, if you're measuring in U.S. dollars, I'm sure he is. Bitch ass. You think the wealthy measure in U.S. dollars? That's crazy. Sovereign Wealth Fund, motherfucker. What you know about that SWF? What you know about that Sovereign Wealth Fund? And then, you know, portions of the so-called truth community obsessed over a period of years with the trust and trust law and legal trust. Well, oh, you think you're going to watch what the rich people do and then righteously mimic and ape it and have resources outside of serving wickedness? Are you crazy? That ain't allowed, buddy. They got lawyers, they got courts, they got legalese that you can't even fathom. The big money gets the little money every single time. People think they're going to trade crypto. My dad thought he was going to day trade for a living. He's good at day trading. And he still probably eats out a profit. But guess what? The big money gets the little money. Always. Just eats it right up. And you ain't allowed to be big money unless you serve evil. That's a violation. perspective of evil. It's about time for a bathroom break. Been driving and preaching for 2 hours, damn near. Because in 1990, let's romanticize the past. I spent my money, and remember, a cassette tape, that was a lot of money in 1990. Talk about inflation. Now music's free, right? Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet. Bought the cassette. Chuck D. What I got, better get some, get on up. Hustler of Culture. Snake bit, been bit in the face. The rhymes keep hitting. I was listening to that. I was 15 years old. Just now starting to maybe understand the meaning. 35 years later. Snake bit. Sacrificed to Moloch. What I got, better get some. That's a person who knows what they are, saying, I know what I am. It's there. You better get you some of that, meaning if it's inside of you, you better go find it. Get on up. Get on my level. What I got, better get some. Get on up. Hustler of culture. Servant of this evil, wicked system of things. Don't you know you was snake face? Cursed? Well, what I am can't never be cursed. It can only be lied to and gaslit and psychologically enslaved and controlled into within delusion, behaving as if blessing were cursed. That's it. That's a bitch ass substitute, to be sure. That's this world. This world is a bitch ass substitute. So tell me again about the nuclear family and the wealth of America and prosperity and Donald Trump and white folks. Please. It's all bitch ass. Bitch ass. Good for nothing. We know that tree by that fruit. It ain't good. We're all eating it, ain't we? On some level. I don't mean we like a team. I mean society. Society produces all of this. Say, oh, Gen Z doesn't want to work. Well, society now apparently produces generations that don't want to work. What do you want me to do about it? I'm pretty sure I know how to discontinue the process of creating a generation that doesn't want to work. But meanwhile, to even deal with that concept, we're going to have to examine, well, what is the function of work? How does it serve the individual? And is it even a desirable, honorable, or is it even, what will be born out of employment and work going forward? Because it's been a hell of a lot of work for old Benton to spiritually get to where he's gotten to. That's work. Right? But remember, society only measures in money. So when they say Gen Z doesn't want to work, they mean Gen Z doesn't want to slave away for corporations so that they can continue to claim record profits so that they can continue to prop up a stock market. That's what that means. And the entire stock market is comprised of fraudulent accounting. You thought Enron was an anomaly. Enron was the prototype. It's all Enron now. It's all mark-to-market accounting and the cooking of the books. 2 ledgers, off-balance sheet liabilities. Good thing they sold all their risk to AIG. That worked out great for everybody, didn't it? Everybody but the taxpayer. Trying to find somewhere to pull over. Here's a truck stop, but it looks like a big pain in the ass to try to exit to it. I might try it anyway. Got a dual turn lane there, fella. No, we don't. Okay. Hard to tell sometimes. Single turning lane. Come on, man. Let's make this light. Oh, good. We got the arrow. Let's see. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Where's the banners tab? There we go.
My home is your home. Well, welcome to the Terror Dome. Who put this thing together, huh? Me. Who I trust? Who I trust? Me. Who you trust, man? Gotta clean my mirrors. I think I made them worse. It's time for fruit. Got to go off duty. I've been driving the whole time. I'm running out of time, but got a 70-hour clock. That's the main thing. At least at 70. About 10 minutes there. Closer to 15 when you factor in getting off the interstate, stopping, and then getting back on the interstate. About 15 minutes. I like this thing though too when people are driving and they get confused or whatever. Like that car, I think they were thinking I might pull out, but then they slow down. So it's like, well, if I'm actually going to pull out, slowing down is you're making it worse by slowing down. It's going to be easier to hit you. They would just keep going the speed they're going. It'd make it more difficult if I was just going to keep going. Why are they slowing down? Still him. I just kept going. But yeah, slow down. Let's slow down and watch me hit them, I guess. Maybe they don't want that check. Hey, yeah, clean the windows. I don't think it helped. About a push overall. back down the fucking. I guess we'll call it a stream. I reckon. Thanks for listening. Bye.